Hey everybody, wake up. This is Wake Up with Mark Joyner, episode number 74, and today we will discuss handling public humiliation. All right, actually, I'm doing this topic on the request of someone on my crew. They thought this would be a good topic to cover, and it's actually quite apropos with some of the interesting things happening right now. It seems that the media is trying to publicly humiliate legislative variety. Very interesting to watch all of this go down, and it's very interesting to watch how everybody reacts to all this stuff. Now, this is something I can speak a little bit authoritatively about. I'm probably one of the first people on the internet to ever get attacked by mobs of angry folks. I know there were some competitors of mine that organized hate mobs against me on bulletin boards and stuff. This is before social media got really big, so a lot of the hate that you see happened not on social media because it wasn't even really existing yet. We had proto social media was stuff like 6 Degrees and Friendster and stuff like that, but nothing like what it is now. And but on these bulletin boards, there there was a bulletin board owner I will not name who was creating fake identities to try to attack me and humiliate me. So let me talk about how I dealt with that, and I think this will give people a lens that they can use to determine how to deal with this themselves. Because look, it's going to happen to you. If it hasn't happened already, it will. You've probably had a night where you got really drunk and you don't remember what happened the next day, or you did something really silly, or you said something silly, or you made a mistake, you're embarrassed. It happens to all of us. It's normal. It's normal, okay? And by the way, that's part of the key of dealing with this is understanding that it is a normal thing. You see, there's this little game that humans play with each other. The game goes like this. We pretend like we set the rules, and anything that you do that is outside of those rules makes you an outsider, an outcast. And we have these little social cliques that we form, and we, sometimes consciously or unconsciously agree to a set of rules, and those rules change, right? See, the rules aren't really static. The rules are set by the people who are in power in the little power groups. You've seen this in cliques, right? There's no consistency. It's basically whoever the cool kids are, setting rules to establish who is cool and who is not. And if you're someone that they don't like, they are going to create rules that make you uncool. It's a confidence game. It's a trick. It's an illusion. All right. Now, a lot of us who aren't aware of the subtlety of that game, we think, oh my God, they're the normal people. I'm an outsider. Therefore, I have to conform to their rules. Okay, but see, that's just their manipulation. That's them trying to get you to change yourself. How do you win this game? Well, let me tell you a little journey I went through with this. All right, so when I first started getting attacked online, some of it was justified. There were some mistakes I was making. I was getting involved in multi-level marketing. I'm not a fan of multi-level marketing anymore. If anybody here watching this is in it, that's fine. No, I'm not gonna attack you for doing it. I don't like the business model, right? After starting many multi-level marketing companies, after being the top distributor in several multi-level marketing companies, I don't like the model. And I'll break it down for you really simply. Gary Halbert and I actually had a conversation about this. The first time we met, it was one of the things that allowed us to bond. We had the same criticism of multi-level marketing, and it's this. The people who succeed in multi-level marketing don't succeed the way multi-level marketers tell you. They tell you just tell 3 friends and they'll tell 3 friends and it'll grow like that, right? Never happens, right? The guys who make money in multi-level marketing are using direct marketing to prospect. And then you suddenly come to a realization, well, if I have to master direct marketing, why am I going to do that for a multi-level marketing product and take a paltry sum in commissions from the multi-level marketing company when I could apply those same direct marketing skills to a product of my own and take the lion's share of the profit. That's it in a nutshell. That's why I don't do it. Okay, and no offense to anybody who's involved in it. If that's you, I'm not here to attack you for doing it. That's my truth. That's my reality. Now, I was getting some criticism for being involved in some multi-level marketing companies. One of them ran afoul of the law in New Zealand. They didn't manage themselves properly. In retrospect, the company, was run pretty irresponsibly. Even though I gave them the best shot I could, and did everything I could to make them very successful. I thought that they had a fantastic idea, but I should have noticed that they were not handling business properly. Okay, so they fell apart. The whole thing fell apart. And I got a lot of criticism for that, and that criticism some of that was probably justified, right? A lot of the criticism that I got was not justified. There was a lot of it that was just total fabrication. One of the guys on a bulletin board who was, creating fake personas on his bulletin board. He knows who he is. He knows he did it. He's going to pretend like he didn't, but I know for a fact it's pretty well established. There were ways that we could know, things that we could see in the source code of the bulletin board that he wasn't smart enough to cover his tracks with. Anyway, this guy would create fake personas and start attacking me for all kinds of different things just because he didn't like me. So these are two different kinds of public humiliation, right? One was based on stuff that I definitely could have learned from, right? So this is the first question you've got to ask yourself. Is the public humiliation you're getting indicative of a legitimate flaw? Is it indicative of a real pattern that you are exhibiting in your life and that you're repeating over and over and over again? If, for example, you were publicly humiliated by getting really drunk and your behavior was bad, and this is a pattern for you and you're doing it consistently, and you've got an alcohol problem, listen to the public humiliation. All right, that is a just form of public humiliation. All right, there's stuff to be learned there. And this is the difficult thing that we have to navigate sometimes. How can we discern how much of this is based on stuff that we really need to improve, and how much of it is based on people just trying to attack us for their own personal power and their own personal gain? When our ego gets in the way of this whole thing, the unhealthy side of the ego, depending on how you define the ego, but the unhealthy aspect of the ego will tell you, well, I don't have anything wrong with myself, even when you do, right? And you don't want to admit it because you don't want to look bad in front of those other people. You got to separate those things. Even if the person telling you that there's something that you're doing that's wrong is somebody you detest and somebody you don't want to agree with for the life of you, you've got to be able to separate that, and you've got to look at the legitimate aspect of the criticism. Okay, so that's the first thing. And if there is something legitimate that you've got to change, own it. Own it. Sometimes you can even own it publicly, and you'd say, you know what? You're right. I made a mistake. That's a flaw in my character. I'm going to work to correct that. Thank you. Boom. Now that is a power play. It's a power play when you do that. Some people might think that that looks weak, but it does not. Depends on how you do it. If you do it kind of sheepish, yeah, I was bad, I should have changed, like that. Yeah, you're going to look weak because you're acting weak. You look weak. Nobody's going to respect that. But if you get up there and you're like, hey, everybody makes mistakes, including you, critic, all right? The difference with me is I'm going to own that, and I'm going to change. Watch me. Now, you do that, people will watch you. Now, if you fail to follow through, you're not going to get respect. But if you do follow through and you do change, there are people who will notice. That's one thing. All right, now the other thing is, how do you deal with the public humiliation that's based on bullshit? People just fabricating stuff to make you look bad, which is kind of what I suspect is happening with Tony Robbins right now. Maybe there are some legitimate things. Maybe there are some mistakes that the guy made, but I get a sense that this is a concerted effort of somebody trying to humiliate him, trying to take him down, and trying to take things out of context to make a man who, in my eyes, has helped a great many people, maybe more than almost anybody. So how do you deal with that kind of thing? Well, you stand up. You stand up and you stand on your own 2 feet and you look people in the eye and you say, okay, you tell me what it is that you have a problem with. Let's deal with the facts and suss out the facts and the garbage. Now, if they say something that's not true, you can say that is simply not true. You stand up. Tell me something that's true that I need to correct. Tell me a mistake that I made and I will deal with it. Okay, now if they tell you something that's true, that's not a mistake, you have to deal with that a completely different way. You can say, yes, you're right, I did do that. But I am not going to apologize for that because, right? You have to understand who you are. You have to understand where you're going. You have to understand what your values are. You have to be willing to face things. See, most of us are not willing to face this stuff, and this is the problem. When somebody comes at you, our way of handling it is we turn tail and we run. I remember when somebody came after Tony Robbins last year for this little snippet of something in one of his seminars, I saw Tony apologize for that. I wouldn't have apologized if I were him because I didn't see him doing anything wrong. There was nothing for him to apologize. If you saw the whole context of that interaction, he was trying as best he could to help a woman who was in a tough situation, giving her tough love. That's not something that requires an apology. See, I think what happens is if you apologize for something that does not merit an apology, what you're doing is you are giving fuel to that attacker because now they smell blood. They're like, oh, okay, all I got to do now to get you to cave is to criticize you for something, even if it's illegitimate. So you got to be able to look people in the eye and you can say, you know what? Hey, your criticism that you have of me here is it's ill-founded. Perhaps what you said is true, but I don't believe it's a flaw. Here's what I had in mind. Are you open to discuss that? You stay calm. You stay cool. You don't allow your emotions to run afoul, all right? But let them do that. I guarantee you, if somebody is coming after you and they're doing it just to attack you, just to make you look bad, and you stand your ground and you stare them in the eye and you handle it properly and you show that you're emotionally unaffected, they will crack. And here's the real secret, guys. You know who loses? It's the one who cracks emotionally. If you can stand your ground and you can keep your cool, it almost doesn't even matter what the truth or the reality of the situation is. People are going to vibe with how you're vibing. They're going to see that. They're going to sense that. And if they see that the other person is losing their cool, they're going to side with you. This is a standard thing. It's a strange phenomenon in human behavior. And in fact, this is how to win a lot of arguments. You ever notice how sometimes there are arguments that you have with people and the rational person loses the argument in the eyes of everybody around everybody else. And that rational person is exasperated because they're like, I'm making 100 times more sense than you. What you're saying makes no sense whatsoever, but everybody's on your side. Everybody's on that other guy's side because that other guy is playing the emotional game right. He's playing his cards correctly. He's not losing his cool, but you are. So you've got to be the one who keeps their cool. You've got to be one who stands their ground. And if you are making a legitimate mistake, you've got to stand up, you've got to own that, and you've got to correct that. And if you do that, I don't care how many times you humiliate yourself, you will come back from that again and again and again. Because guess what? It's never going to stop happening. The lessons are not going to stop coming at you in life. You can hide from the lessons. The lessons will chase your ass down. They will find you. You can hide from the humiliation. It's going to find you too. All right? This is the way the universe is designed. I believe we are meant to be tested in this place, and the tests will come in one form or another. And what I choose to do is I choose to accept the tests on my own terms. I put myself through difficult situations so that I can pay now rather than pay later. All right, you guys, you have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.